Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Off the Clock podcast. I'm Rick Gorman here with my faithful partner, Scott Chandler, and we are about to embark on episode 8. Where has the last 7 weeks gone? I think we have a pretty good agenda that we'd like to touch base on, a couple of suggestions that were given to us, and we'll touch base on that. We'll have the brewery review. And we'll go some really good banter back and forth, and that usually starts with the weekend review. So, Scott, welcome back. How's everything going?
Yeah, good to be back. Everything's good. I'm just reflecting on the past couple of weeks. I think we have to stop predicting sports. I think since I crapped on the Red Sox, they've won 7 in a row. I think they've gone something like 12-2. I think we said that the U.S. I think you said the U.S. was going to make it to the quarterfinals. They did not, and I think we both said the Spurs weren't going to win Game 5. So I think our sport predicting needs to end. So.
Yeah, I mean, you want my opinion on that?
Of course.
I think just like all the sports pundits, everybody thinks they've got all the knowledge, and then when it doesn't happen, they got the big excuses for it. Yeah, I thought the Spurs were going to go beyond Game 5. Men's soccer, my new interest in the World Cup, I did have them going to the quarterfinals, no higher, but I thought they played terrible the other night. I don't think they're probably as good as everybody wanted them to be with the tournament being on our soil. And and then in terms of the Red Sox, congratulations. I know it means a lot to you. I tend to leave my baseball talk to you and the man known as Head, but the reality here is we could be back 2 weeks from now and you just about they lost 8 in a row.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think I said last time that I don't think they can hit elite pitching, and I really don't think they can. So I think that's going to be a problem. But we'll see. We'll see how it moves forward. I'm just interested in your soccer expertise. So can you go into depth about offsides, red cards, yellow cards?
The rules have taken a long time to understand. I still question some offside stuff. My interest is more, running the youth center, having kids that actually were really into the World Cup, watching it at the youth center. I know my own kids, George and Michael, were really into it during this World Cup thing, and I just think that it's not this beautiful game that everybody talks to you about. It's a very frustrating game, but reality being is I think it's been some really exciting endings in a lot of different games. The U.S. is out, so I'm now rooting for Norway, but every game I will question some kind of an offsides for sure.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. Just another thing I wanted to bring up was I was at a brewery on Wednesday with a buddy of mine, and he had a friend walk in that was actually a friend of his dad's, and I think the guy was 85 years old, and he walked in with his 2 buddies. One was the young guy was 83, and the older guy was 88, and they sat down at our table and they talked to us for maybe an hour. And they had a couple of beers, and it was a great discussion. It was they were busting each other's balls. They were kidding around. They were talking about mortality. They were talking about the ride home and how they would probably not make it home. And one of them said last time they were there and had a couple of beers, they didn't make it home and they peed their pants. So it was just kind of an interesting perspective, and you can tell they really enjoyed each other's company, and you can tell they were taking the journey together. They were taking the journey of aging, and you could tell they had done it for years, and they just kind of laughed at each other. Like somebody would say something crazy that they did, and the other one would laugh at them. Guy put down a whole thing of chips, and they're all eating the chips, and nobody's judging what they're eating. Nobody's criticizing. You could just tell they were all in it together, and it was kind of cool. Not that I want to be 85, not that I want to be there yet, but it was pretty cool to witness all that. What I did ask is, I said, like, what do you think? When you were our age, my buddy and I both, I'm 66, he's 65. What advice would you say? Like, how did it go? Like, and they said it just goes so quickly. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy what you can. You're gonna have some heartache. You're gonna have some good times. Just roll with it. So it was really kind of a cool experience.
Yeah, I mean, I love the story. Obviously, they're 2 decades older than us. Hopefully we'll get there and be able to enjoy the stuff. You're telling the story. I see some people that are pretty comfortable who they are. They're living their best life. They're living in the present. I don't think they're worrying about maybe what's going to happen in the future or whatever. They're taking it day by day. Looks like they can really laugh at each other a little bit, and I think as we get older, that's actually a good thing and not a bad thing. But sounds like you got some good perspective from watching that.
Yeah, no, it was just great, and they were good guys too. And we were talking about sports. I know a subject you don't love, but we were talking about sports. We were talking about some other things. So it was it was just pretty cool to see. That's all.
Yeah, good story on that. I have to delve into this. I don't know why you continue to do it every week. I made a comment that I like some other things besides sports, and it's almost like you took defense to it because, as everybody who knows Scott, you're pretty much defined by sports. Why do you keep bringing it up that I don't like sports anymore?
Yeah, it's probably a knee-jerk reaction to you calling out my voice every week, so I need something to counteract that. So maybe that's it. I'm not sure.
Well, let's hope you can grow from this going forward.
Yeah, maybe we should take a psychological evaluation and see where we land.
Yeah, that's fine. But for the people keeping track of records at home, I still am a big sports person, very big sports person, just do have other interests besides that. And I'm comfortable with my voice, I guess. All right, so anything else going on this last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'll bring up one thing. So my wife and I with another couple went to see Paul Simon in concert and talk about old age. It was tough. It was tough to watch him. And not only because we and you said to me, you're like, you know what you're getting into when you go. So what were your expectations? And my expectations weren't high, but I did want to see an icon. And the first and unfortunately the first 33 minutes, he did one song that had to do with gospel prayer. He's kind of preaching. He's not really singing, and his arms are going crazy. So we went to a picnic table and all had a drink while he kind of went through that. He took a break and then he came back and he sang some of his old songs, but it just wasn't good. And in retrospect, I was like, do I really want to go see any more aging artists anymore? So I know you think he's not relevant. We can get into that discussion, but yeah, it was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, relevant is, has he put out any new music in the last 30 years? Has he been something that, he's living on, which I think he was an icon when he was with Simon and Garfunkel. I think he had a day at the beach in the 80s with Graceland and that whole things, but he really hasn't been someone that's really putting out new material. You don't really hear from him as much. I think he has slipped. I saw the schedule. We talked about going to some concerts, and, that's not one that I definitely would want to go to. But, we talk about, aging. Why are they doing it? They want to stay relevant. Is it a money factor? Yes, we talked about that. I saw Barry Manilow, and he had to be helped off the stage. And his voice, which was a great voice at one time, was not great. People were holding on to the fact of what he sung in 1970s. I saw Frankie Valli have to be propped up on the stage with 9,000 people singing behind him, and him maybe saying one line. And, great songs from the 60s and 70s, but why they do that? On the flip side, I do see some relevant people. Like we've gone to see Neil Young. I think he's still trying to be relevant. And then you look at the big acts like a Bruce Springsteen that can still sell out 70,000 seats every day. And he's got new material. The Rolling Stones has new material. And Mick Jagger's 80? 81, something like that. So there's a difference between the two. But, Paul Simon, I would have taken a hard pass on that. Would we go to see Neil Young again? Yeah, probably. And I actually thought he sounded pretty good last year at age 78, something like that. So, yeah, I just think I knew you weren't going to like it. You texted me a number of times how upset you were that it was really bad.
Yeah, but where I'll push back a little bit is I do think he's an icon, right? And I think a lot of people
he was an icon.
But isn't Elvis still an icon? Elvis is dead, but he's still an icon.
And he was relevant up until 1978 when he died.
Yeah, but he's still relevant today. A lot of people still listen to Elvis. A lot of people still listen to Simon and Garfunkel.
But they listen to him with the age before he died. They're not listening to him now.
Yeah, but I think some people do. I do think some Elvis maybe not so much, but I think Simon and Garfunkel. I think there were a lot of younger people, not a lot, but there were some younger people in the crowd. It wasn't just old guys like myself. It was. I mean, we were probably average age there, or maybe a little older than average age. But there were some younger people.
And what were they hoping to hear?
No, they seemed to enjoy it. I mean, the people I saw seemed to enjoy it. So, I mean, there were a lot of restless people too. But I think it was a mix. I think it was a mix.
Well,
So,
I'm glad you had a good time at Paul Simon.
yeah. Well, yeah, I did have a good time. I didn't really enjoy the artistry.
Right.
If
And
that
that's
makes
the
any
thing,
sense.
like,
Yep,
you know,
yep.
we talk about Bob Dylan, right? You and I have always wanted to see Bob Dylan. I've seen him a couple of times, and they were both bad concerts because he doesn't really care about what I want to listen to. He's going to pretty much play what he's believing, and it was one of his real kind of like religious albums
Yeah,
he
gospel.
had.
He went gospel for a
and
while.
he
yeah.
went pretty big with that. And, you know, I think when the movie came out a couple of years ago with Timothée Chalamet, he became someone like people wanted to have his music again. And, I don't think he's interested in going back to what he was in the 60s and 70s, but, he's still putting out some stuff. But I have a diehard friend, Bob Dylan fan, who basically says you need to check out the tour of what he's playing and then make a decision really where you want to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't disagree. And oddly enough, they were selling lawn tickets for $30 a piece to see Dylan. So they weren't selling.
Yeah, like
So.
in the day. But, I mean, it's part of the whole aging thing we talk about. I just don't know. I mean, is it money? And Paul Simon needs money, so he's going to get up there and try to relive the past? Maybe. Maybe he's also a musician that just loves his art and doing stuff like that and wants to be a bit relevant with that.
See, I go with the latter. I don't think he needs the money. I think it's hard. It's a hard lifestyle to let go of. I saw Brian Wilson in the Lynn Auditorium maybe 2 years before he passed away, and that was. I'm glad I saw him. He did God Only Knows, and I love that song, and he barely got through it, but it was cool just being able to say you saw him sing it, right? And it wasn't, I mean, he could barely stand up. They kind of had to drag him out there, and it was bad, but I didn't regret going to that concert. The Paul Simon one, probably more so.
Yeah. So, So the update on the Paul Simon concert. But part of this whole aging thing we're talking about and trying to hold on, I do get a kick out of the bands from like the 80s, I would say, that are like a double or triple bill now at the same venue you just saw Paul Simon. REO Speedwagon and stuff, trying to relive that whole thing. And I saw pictures of it, different age groups there, obviously our age group that lived through it, but younger people too. And it's very interesting, and that's why I try to tell you there is new music. You can check some new people out there putting music out.
Yeah, and a ton of those bands, don't even have any original members anymore.
Yeah, it's one guy from it or whatever. Yeah.
That played backup bass or something. No offense, WB, that played backup bass or something. Yeah.
Well, I might be hearing from Paul Simon's attorneys about my opinion of the Paul Simon situation.
Yeah, I think you have to give him a little more slack, but that's okay.
For sure. Yeah. All right, in my case, last couple of weeks, 4th of July, family stuff, got up to Maine for a couple of days. Got to basically kind of relax. It's been hot weather here, just trying to live the best life or whatever. So, all good stuff. So,
can you explain why there's no tan?
I have a very good tan for the people who can't see the zone. By the way, we're going to try to videotape our podcast going forward.
This is news to me, by the way.
I'm sure he'll have a problem with that. But, I think we're going to try to do it right in the studio here with our guys that have been very helpful for us. So that would be the next step as we head up to it.
The fans are going to start lining up outside. I'm not sure I would divulge that information so readily.
Autograph session.
They're going to have to sell tickets.
And I'll push you out there like we push out Frankie Valli. We'll step you up there.
Whale me in.
All right, we're getting off the rails a little bit, so let's get into our first topic today, episode 8. So we have a friend that I've known in the past. I got to work with both his children. They're grown adults now doing great things in their own right, and I've had the pleasure of knowing him and his wife for many, many years. And you have the pleasure of getting to know him by sitting next to him in the sauna. And he actually is the architect of what we're going to try to talk about today. He's a guy that will be heading into retirement at some point. He's not quite ready to do that. He kind of enjoys the podcast, and he thought we should maybe talk about, like, when you retire, where do you feel around some changes in terms of do you downsize? Do you move? Empty nest type thing. How far do you travel? Where do you want to be? Do you do it? Does it make sense or whatever? So we're going to delve into that. So why don't you start us off on that with your conversation in the sauna?
Yeah, so I think you kind of brought this up last week, where you said you were about ready to make some changes, and you're thinking of moving. And he kind of said, "Well, I wish he expounded more on that subject. That would be interesting to me, because I think he's thinking, or his family is, whoever is thinking of moving fairly locally." By the way, what percentage of retirees do you think actually move?
So I didn't know if you're going to tell me it's high or low or whatever. I think it's probably more, but I have it under 50%.
Yeah, it's 25 to 33. I don't know what that range means. I just read it somewhere. So, but that seems like kind of a pretty big range. But almost a third of the retirees move. Now that doesn't mean only 15% leave the state, but I mean that's a big change. Like moving. And my wife and I were thinking of downsizing and moving, and there were a lot of aspects to it. But one of the primary reasons that we shied away from it was we love where we live. It's extremely quiet where we live. And I'm like, if we move into a condo somewhere or a space like that, you run dangers of your neighbors, of having loud neighbors, of having, just it's a different lifestyle, and you take some risks. And after we assessed everything, we weren't ready to take that risk. Like we like where we live too much, and owning a house, it can be sometimes a lot to maintain, especially me, because I can't do anything. I'm awful around the house. I literally can't do anything. Like if there's a problem with the sink, I go, Nancy, there's a problem with the sink. Can you fix it? And if she can't, we call a plumber. So that's my area of expertise in that area. So, but yeah.
So where were the places when you kind of had this discussion, do we stay in the house? Where was the destination you were possibly thinking? I know you have a child in South Carolina, but I think if I remember correctly, you started even looking at maybe a place in Portland, Maine.
Yeah, we did, but we ruled out Portland quickly. It was too far away from our local grandson who lives in Arlington, so we kind of ruled that out. We did look at a couple of spots even within the area, North Andover, and there was one place my wife really liked, and then we went back and forth on it, and we just said no, it really doesn't make any sense. So we put that in the back burner. But would I? And again, I think I mentioned this last time, wouldn't rule out buying a small place down in South Carolina just to go back and forth to. But again, I think my financial advisor basically said, you know what, just wait and see. Wait, and you can go down there, you can visit. You don't have to worry about hurricanes. You don't have to worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about, all that stuff. You just go down there and see how you like it, rent someplace, and maybe that's a better way to go. And I think we've kind of come full circle on that, and have said, okay, this is the way we're probably going to visit them from this point forward, and not buy a spot.
So you're going to keep the house on Winter Street, which your wife's more social than you, but I don't even think you know your neighbors out on Winter Street.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I think I know one neighbor, and he probably lives 2 or 3 houses down. So that's about it. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah,
it's not good. I do wave to them, but if I saw them in the grocery store, I probably wouldn't know what they look like.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
and our houses though they're pretty far apart, so that's part of it too. It's not like I run into them and I avoid them. It's just, and they're the couple across the street, younger, have younger kids. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So
and I am antisocial, but that's not that's not the primary cause of me not knowing my neighbors.
Okay. All right. So my situation is a little bit different, and I'm speaking to, and I think the one good thing about us is we are at different parts of our life. So as I've said many times, I'm divorced. I'm divorced 6 years now. And when I got divorced and basically needed to leave my house that I loved, and I loved my neighbors, and that whole thing, I was kind of put in a situation that I needed a stopgap of living while I was still working. So moved into a old mill setting, which is really nice, but flat out it's apartment living. And for people our age, I would definitely not suggest apartment living. But I wanted to kind of ride out the rest of my years. It was a 6-minute commute. We've talked about how commute can be stressful. My commute was not, obviously. But now that I'm retired, I can start to take a look at that stuff. And I think for me, it's like I definitely am looking to move. But where do you want to move, right? So, I'm a big grew up in Winthrop, so grew up on the beach. Spent many years up here, but have refound about how much I love the ocean. So where would I want to be? I would have to be somewhere near the water. Proximity to your kids is important, but for me, I think in this day and age, you actually. You could live in a different state and still see your kids and have they could come there, you could go there. I see a lot of people in our North Andover area that they relocate to a Newburyport. Surprised with how many people actually sell their house, downsized, and moved to Boston, North End. Basically in the Seaport, have a nice condo down there, proximity to the city. And I kind of interested in that type of stuff. And I think for a lot of people, it's, I think in your case, I look at your house as a hub where when your son and family does come up from South Carolina, they go to the house that they remember. If you had a condo, maybe you wouldn't be able to put them up, that type of thing. So I think it's very individual, but, also what type of a setting do you like? And for me, I love being on the water, or at least near the water, proximity to the water. So that will be probably my destination. But I'm also, for the first time in my life, been looking at maybe spending half the year someplace else, whether it be Florida or something like that. So right now, for me, the immediate thing that I was talking about is kind of done with where I'm living. So I'm going to probably have to look at something in more of a temporary basis for a long-term plan from there. So again, we come from two different perspectives on that.
Yeah, but I think temporary is probably good, right? Try it out for a while, see if you like it. So go to where you're thinking of moving and stay there for a couple of weeks, for a month, and see what you feel. I think what people say when you relocate to another state is go down there at the worst time of year for a month and see what you think. Like if you like to go somewhere on vacation, go there when it's not so nice and the time of year where it's maybe colder or more rainy or whatever it is, and try it out for a month and see how you like it, and then assess that way. So, and the other thing is, how do you feel about moving and socially? Like does it get that away? Because so many people in North Andover. Does that get you away from that social aspect, the friend group, the social connections you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think, full disclosure, I'm looking at a situation where I'm going to maybe do a winter rental for this year, where I'm not hook, line, and sinker, but, I know everybody knows how much I love Maine, and where I go in Maine, it's actually an hour's drive from here, so I can get access to here all the time. To your point, and I spent some time up there, the summer, everyone's going to love being up there. It's beautiful. It's unbelievable. It was tough leaving this morning to come back. But, I've been up there in the winter. I've been up there in snowstorms. And you got to really see it's a very different life up there at that point in time. But I think for 1 year, I'm really looking to maybe experiment on that to see if I really like it up there. But reality being is, what's your social piece? And the thing is, I'll still be coming down here. I wouldn't be coming down every single day, but and you can keep in touch with people in different ways too. Like people can come up and visit you and stay the night, or, I tell, I'm only a short way from Portland. It's a city that you love. So yeah, I think the social piece is important. But I'm not going to be a recluse because I'm an hour away. I'm going to have a commute, which is something we've talked about a little bit more. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. But after this year of that, I actually think I'm going to have an idea of really where I want to be.
Well, I don't think you are going to have a commute because you're not working. So
Yeah, but
by
if I
definition,
was to
yeah.
come back here, obviously my kids are in the Merrimack Valley. Some of my side business is in the Merrimack Valley or this area. My culture workshops, which is all over New England, will just be a start and end point, would be a little bit different than where it is right now. But yeah, things that are going through my mind. And for a lot of people, I find a lot of people that downsize, a lot of North Andover people, is they don't make an immediate decision on this. And going back to your advice to me about not making any decisions for 6 months after you get retired, but I found the people, cutting back with their job or even retiring, that they didn't move to this other place for at least a year or two after they retired to see really where it is. And a lot is dedicated with, if your child was not in South Carolina and they were both, in the Massachusetts, then you might be looking at a downsize in a different way, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that is going to be an individual choice. I know a lot of people that this is a subject matter that stresses them out. And then I know some people that they already have the plan. They're ecstatic about it. They're moving to Florida, or they're moving to the city or something like that.
But how many of those people do you think have any regrets? Like once you sell your house and you move, you're gone. If you end up not liking it like you thought you did, that can be financially, it can be a big hit, right? Because just say you buy a place and then that all costs money, right? And then you come back and say, because you don't love it down there, say it's Florida, you come back here. I mean, that's a whole thing. And I think that does happen to X amount of people. But so I mean, we're no experts on this, right? So
I mean, it's personal choice.
Who am I to give advice? But I think you have to think through some obvious stuff.
I mean, I have a good friend older than me that had 2 kids. His son moved to Minnesota to start his family, and his daughter was down in the mid-Atlantic, and their attitude was they kept a condo up here, small condo, and then just kind of spent half the year with each one of the kids. Now their daughter actually moved up to Windham, New Hampshire, so they've kind of more lived in that area and then fly out to Minnesota. So they've kind of been calculated that they want to be able to see their grandchildren, their kids, and they've really put a lot of thought with that. I do know other people that just make a cut and say, I'm moving to Florida. I got this guy that was a former assistant principal at North Andover Middle School that, he just retired, left this area, went to Florida, found a new business that he's working with, and he ain't ever coming back, and it met all of his expectations. So, yeah, I don't think any of us can really give advice. I think it's very personal or whatever, but I do know people wonder. I mean, I have a lot of people, and you know people too, that have big houses, especially like in North Andover. And if your kids, it's just you and your wife living in that big house, even if you don't relocate big, you're probably going to downsize to something else.
Yeah, that's true. And that market's just tough too, though. You look at houses and townhouses, and they're not cheap.
No.
So yeah. So depending on
and everything that goes with getting a
that,
condo and stuff, it's all these other costs that come with it, and that can be tough too. So, yeah, I would say that you think about it more as you're retired. I mean, as I'm full blank raising kids and working, I didn't really think about anything about relocation. I always looked at that down the road or whatever. But yeah, and then I know some people that just they're never leaving. They're going to stay in the house that they raised their family in, everything else.
So the 88-year-old guy I saw on Wednesday said he lived in the same house for 62 years. I thought that was impressive.
62 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But good stuff, and I think it gives something for people to think about. So, all right, let's go into our second topic of this week, and basically want to talk about maybe some recent things you're picking up or doing, or things that you didn't do before. And I think we talked off air. You don't necessarily have anything brand new?
I don't have anything brand new, no. I mean, and again, I've talked about the bowling league ad nauseum, so I don't think anybody wants to hear about that, but that was new. I really haven't done...
Is that over, by the way?
Yeah, it's over. Yeah. So the question is, do I go back in the fall or not? So that's my if that's my biggest problem, I'm doing okay.
When does that decision have to be made?
I think pretty soon. I think probably the end of August. So
Okay.
yeah, a lot of sleepless nights deciding whether or not I'm going to bowl or not. So
Now, with you have different friends that I know, friends that I don't know real well. They're going to start heading to the retirement. Have they brought up anything to you about, hey, we should do this or something like that?
not specifically, no. In a week from now, we're going to one of my friends who just retired. We're going to Vermont with them for a couple of days. So that's kind of new. We wouldn't have done that before. But no, nothing specific long term, right? But I know WB inspired you when he was here to start something new. So why don't you go get into that? Because
Yeah, so a couple things. So the first thing I'll talk about is I remember a conversation that we had when we were in our 40s. And I have never been a golfer, and I had an opinion of why would I golf. To me, it took up too much time. In a lot of ways, very slow paced. My crazy work schedule would have been, how am I going to justify going on the links for 5-6 hours on a Saturday? But you and I also had opinion like, we're not going to golf. We're going to play basketball until we can't play basketball anymore. Well, that came pretty fast. That came in our mid-50s. And I do have a regret that I didn't really pick up golf earlier. You and I golfed one time in particular. It was the North Andover fundraiser golf tournament, and we probably spent more time with adult beverages than we actually were golfing. And I don't think, by the fact, I know we were very poor golfers. And the other guys we were with
speak
us,
for yourself.
yeah, you weren't very good, and it was me, you, and I think Melman was one of the guys, and Hutch. And I wouldn't say any of us are actually golfers, but we had a good time with it. But so my brother-in-law, who's retiring in December, I saw him, and now he's like, we should start to golf, and I've told him the whole story. But I'm going to go golfing, and I've warned them that I will be the worst golfer of the four. Hopefully, I'll get a good partner that's better than me. But
Is this miniature golf or is this
no,
real
this
golf?
is going to be real golf, and I'll try it. I mean, I know how bad I'll be.
Are you going to get a caddy or will you carry your own clubs?
I expect that group will have a cart. Yeah,
But not a caddy. A caddy's
no,
different
no,
than a
we
cart.
will not have a caddy.
Okay.
Not sure that's necessary or even good enough to have caddies. But,
Well, if you hire me, I'll caddy for you.
no, not interested in having you even there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to indulge. So that would be something that even a couple of years ago I would have said to you, I'm not doing that. But now I'm almost wishing I had picked up golf because everybody I know that's retired, with the exception of you, golfs. And, it'd be from a social aspect and everything else. So golfing's number one. Number two is, and I've mentioned this before, that I'm in awe of the Waterboy because he's such an unbelievable musician, but I've always had an interest to pick up a musical instrument at this crazy age. So last week, I purchased a used keyboard at the famous Lawrence Antique Mall. Got it for like $39.99. It works really well, so I've been kind of picking that up, taking some YouTube lessons, which can be frustrating in a lot of ways. But yeah, just trying to see it. I mean, I might throw that thing away. Waterboy checked in with me because he's obviously a musician, and he gave me some suggestions on things. So yeah, I think the next thing is to try to, and then he sends us both a really good article on brain health in learning an instrument and listening to music, which I thought was kind of fascinating. I read a couple other things about that afterwards. So anything that can kind of help the brain health or whatever. So I might even be bringing the keyboard in at some point and, dedicating a song to you or something.
Were you singing? Like, what are you thinking?
I've experimented with the voice. A lot of work needs to be done there, but who knows? I mean, again, this could be just a hobby. This could be an interest. We talk about Waterboy, who's extremely talented, about him going on tour and doing something else. I don't see that ever happening for me, but I think the music piece is something that's always been an interest in me. So a couple of new things that are probably outside my comfort zone that I'm going to try.
I just want to go back to the golf. So So basketball was in our blood, right? And I would say the guys who play basketball all were like diehard basketball guys.
Correct.
Golf is not in your blood. What are
No.
the odds you go after 9 holes, you go, this sucks, and you're done?
I would say
In your college shirt, because you have to wear a college shirt, I think, at
yeah,
most places.
and I won't be
I-
wearing
My buddy, I showed up with a T-shirt once, and he goes, "What the hell are you doing?" I go, "I don't know. I'm just golfing." He goes, "You got to." I go, "You got to dress up to golf." I mean, that's how. And he goes, and he brought a shirt with him, knowing I wouldn't bring a college shirt.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's,
I had to throw on a college shirt, and it's ridiculous. And again, a lot of my friends golf, but I don't.
I will not have a problem with a collar shirt or a nice pair of golf shorts. I know you with a T-shirt and a cargo, but I also know you're the most unprepared person too. You know, we've gone hiking with you, and you don't even bring water. You're wearing a pair of
That's
sneakers.
not true. I did have a 12-ounce water
A
bottle.
12-ounce water for a nice mountain hike. But yeah, so to answer your question,
I don't even know why you brought water because you go up so slowly. It's amazing to me you got thirsty.
Interesting comment. Going back to the golf, though, I would say there's a really good chance I am going to hate it after 4 holes. I will be frustrated with how bad I am, and I'm trying to tell the people I'm going with, like, and they all say they're not good too, but you know, I roll my eyes to that. Like I will feel bad if I'm really that bad. And then the other aspect is I do think I'll like the camaraderie piece, which everybody talks about, right? And I'm not going to have to rush to get back like I would have had to before. You know, I remember we did that golf tournament. We rushed to come back to play basketball. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do. We played 5-on-5.
Yeah, we played some kids.
They were good.
They're not bad. So, yeah. So I guess the question is I'm going to throw myself out there, and I'll take away the co-ed bowling league. What are you going to do to throw yourself out on something new?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, that's unpredictable, right? So I don't. I really don't know. It's day to day. It's week to week by me. I'm happy right now. I think at some point I'll pick up something. I'll do something else. But right now, I'm day to day. Everything's good.
When you say pick up something else, is it more of just something to keep you busy, or do you have like an interest of maybe picking up something? Like I have a guy that I actually respect a lot that has picked up a lot more like woodworking type things. He's going to work with his hands and work in his house.
Dude,
I know that won't be you.
I would cut it. I would lose my fingers on the first day. So that's not happening.
Right.
Not a chance. So. Woodwork is definitely out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just using that as an example.
I'm not gonna be an artist. I'm not gonna be a singer, and I'm not gonna do woodwork.
Would you go to a paint party?
A what party?
A paint party.
What's that?
Where all of us got together one day and over a couple of bottles of wine or a couple of IPAs, we would be with an instructor and we would do some painting.
Oh, painting? No, I'm not doing that.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Oh, I don't like painting. I mean, why I mean, I bring a coloring book and color in some cartoon characters, but I'm not going to paint.
But is that just because it's outside your I can't golf. I can't play a musical instrument, but I'm going to throw myself out there.
I have no desire to draw.
Okay.
I mean,
well, do you have any desire in anything?
Yeah, I like to read. I like to see all the stuff we've talked about.
How about not a book club?
Oh, I would do a book club.
Why haven't you done a book club?
Well, I don't know, because I haven't started one.
Yeah,
never,
but I've heard you say for a long time is I do a book club.
Yeah, and I used to be in a couple of book clubs. So yep, we used to. And when I was working at my place a couple of jobs ago, we had a book club there. That was pretty good. It was actually pretty good, and a lot of books that I wouldn't have read that I read that were excellent books.
So your wife's going to come on the podcast at some point. But one thing I would say about
I don't think she knows that.
Well, you said you've talked to her about it, but if you look at her ability to try different things, what's the difference?
Oh, it's huge.
What does she do?
I mean, she went to Spain on a bike trip. She hadn't been on a bike.
Besides traveling, tell me other things, because I think I know some of the stuff she does.
Well, cooking. I mean, but she's always been kind of a big cook. She does that. She goes to the gym. She goes walking. She has a book club. She does a bunch of stuff.
She does a bunch of things with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is not necessarily, with the exception of maybe going to some breweries or your friends centered around drinking. Do you do much with other guys?
Yeah, go to a baseball game. I'll go. Yeah. But you are right. It is. I tend to hook up with friends more in a brewery setting.
Yeah.
And by the way, good story. My son, after he listened to the last podcast, he said, "You know what? I put through Gronk. I said, can you ask Gronk?" I asked Gronk if Scott Chandler was an alcoholic after listening to episode 7 of Off the Clock. And Gronk came back and said, thankfully, he said, "Nope, just a casual drinker who likes to have a drink with his wife and once in a while have a drink with buddies." So I felt good about that.
So I don't think Gronk got enough information.
Well, I think it did. I think
An
my son.
occasional beer with a friend,
Yeah.
stop it.
No, that's true. That's true.
What's an occasional beer?
What do you mean? How often do I go out?
No. If you go out, and I know for a fact you went out with Bernie last week, how many beers did you have?
4.
4 beers. And what day of the week was it?
Wednesday.
Okay. And did you go out any other days during the week to drink?
Nope.
Because I don't think Gronk has the full information.
I didn't. Yeah.
But there are days there are weeks definitely that.
Far and fewer between these days. Yep. I go on vacation next week, and I'll be off and on. I'll drink a little bit, not a lot.
So why did your son want to do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Sounds like he was questioning.
Yeah,
it.
he was worried about me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, are you at least open to maybe I throw a paint party? You looked at me like it was crazy, and I'm not saying
I thought you said pain party. I go, what do you do? Smack each other? I go, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm sure there could be something.
Yeah.
What if I said to you, a bunch of us are going to go axe throwing?
I would probably do that.
Probably do that.
Do that once. I've never done it.
And what's the reason? Maybe because it's also food and drink, and you socialize. What?
It'd be kind of fun throwing an axe. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there was a picture of you up there.
Have you ever done it?
I've never done it.
Never
I know
done
you did it once.
I've actually done it a number of times.
Okay.
I actually kind of like it. So, all right. So maybe
I'm just not as worldly as you are, so that's what it comes down
I
to.
don't think
you know?
it's worldly, but hopefully maybe our listeners will give us some other ideas on that. All right, let's jump into the weekly brewery review.
Yeah, so again, this will be quick. And again, most people are going to know this brewery. It's Notch. And they have a place in Salem, New Hampshire, and in Brighton, Mass. The Salem one is the original one. And they're not an IPA place, so that's not a place WB would go to. It's more like ales and pilsners, that type of stuff. They have 2 beers, one called the Standard, which I think a lot of people would know if they go to Notch, and the other one called Tenor, which is really good. They do have an IPA session called Left of the Dial, which isn't bad, and they have a pale ale called Dog and Pony, also not bad. But they're open 7 days a week, and I think both spots are open 7 days a week, and they offer food at the Brighton spot, not so much at the other spot in Salem. Although they do have food offer. It might be the other way around. So Salem, they do offer food. Brighton, they don't. They have like food trucks or restaurants in the building. So, but it's a good spot. It's a good place to hang in Salem. You kind of look out at this. It's a cool spot. So I highly recommend that.
Awesome.
Have you ever been to the Notch?
I have not been to the Notch.
Okay.
But I'm keeping all these notes from the wonderful suggestions you've made, so I'll get up there. Like a brewery, but I'm not a diehard brewery guy like you. And most of the times I've gone to some breweries, it's because of you or other people saying, "Hey, come down and check this out." So next week you're heading up to Maine. You've talked a few times about it. It's a trip down memory lane. It's a place that you stayed when you were a kid. So now you've been retired for 2 summers with this. You're heading up there. What's the week look like up there, and why will that be such a great week, besides the fact your son and family is coming up?
Yeah, well, that's number one. My son and his family are coming up, and it's just always great when we hang out together. But we'll do a lot of hiking. I talked about running around Eagle Lake. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that. Beautiful lake with beautiful carriage paths. But we will do a lot of hiking. We'll do a couple of mountains. We'll do some trails, and just the weather looks great. I always look forward to it. And the spot we have is just it's really nice. It's on the water, and it's away. It's the other side of the island of Bar Harbor, so it's really cool.
And what if the weather turns?
Yeah, I always find something to do. And actually, walking when the weather's bad, walking along the ocean. I don't know if you've been up there, but near Sand Beach and Otter Cliff and all that area, it's really fascinating to see. You see high surf, and it's really Thunder Hole is up there, so it's really kind of cool to look at that stuff. So even if it's bad weather, it's interesting to actually see Acadia in bad weather. So not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
But the forecast does look good.
And you're a Saturday to Saturday rental?
Saturday to Saturday.
Saturday, you'll be back from there.
Yeah.
All right, want to kind of wrap up today. We're on a text list with the Wildcats, and I guess I missed this from the day before, but we've talked a little bit about, do you check obituaries, and do you, at our age, is it creepy checking bigger? Do we look to see if we know anybody or whatever? But really sad to hear the passing of Danny Ventura. Danny was a long time high school reporter for the Boston Herald. Got to know him personally with my basketball work, and then we became avid followers on social media. He was really good at telling me that if I said something he didn't agree with, he was very good at applauding me for things I said that he actually believed in. And it was really kind of hit me hard on that text list. You responded and a few other people because I hadn't heard it. And then, of course, I checked social media. I was at the beach and, I see that he passed. And, and I remember he retired actually a few months before me. Sent him a nice long note, how much I appreciated him or whatever. I think he was spending a lot of time in Florida. I think he had a house down there or something. And then to hear that he passed and then finding out it was a 7-month battle with cancer. So obviously our thoughts and prayers out with the Ventura family. Really good guy. I know you didn't know him personally, but you knew of him. When we talk about stuff like this, is this just the way it is right now? We're going to know more and more.
Yeah, I think that's probably a part of it. I mean, my wife and I always say when we go to the doctor, well, at some point something's going to happen. So, but you just do what you do and go by, and yeah. And I knew him from, obviously I read a lot of his stuff. I follow high school sports pretty closely, so good. He everybody seemed to love him. So
yeah,
I didn't know him at all.
And if you saw the tributes to him on social media, Matty Feld and some of the proteges that he had, just idolized him for how much, he helped them grow in the business. Probably just a really extremely humble guy. And he loved his Italy team in the World Cup and he had a lot to say with it. Just a really good guy. So, yeah, it just got me thinking about, because you asked me a couple of weeks ago, do you look at the obituaries? And I think I told you, I kind of look at some of the towns, and I kind of quickly go through it. But, every time you hear something more, when we were 20, if it was our parents, someone that died or whatever, it was one aspect. But now it's just thinking about those 85-year-old guys at the brewery right now and taking it day by day.
Hey, they're still plugging away.
Having
fun. So that's what it's all about.
All right, what else? You have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good. I think it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. So, again, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. We are trying to do this every other week or so, or somewhere in the ballpark. Want to thank Cam today because we did have, this was the first time that I think we had, what do you think, 6 takes before we got this thing going?
I think it was 5 or 6. And I think a couple of them were better than this take.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There was a little technical malfunctions. We'll try to work on that. Hopefully this comes out really well on that. But I want to thank everybody. Continue to listen. Send us those ideas. And as we always say, I'm Rick Gorman. He's Scott Chandler. And we are off the clock.
Thanks, guys.